Hi friends, welcome to the beginning of a new semester. In this brief presentation, I would like to take a few moments to introduce myself to all of you, provide a little bit of information about my qualifications, my education, and also a little bit about my educational journey and how it has affected me and how I approach higher education. Next, I would like to invite you to reflect on some of these components to success. And so if you were to ask me, what does success look like, or how to develop success in our lives, in our academia and professional and personal lives, I would tell you there are three fundamental components to that. So I would like to spend some time and share a little bit of those with you in this presentation. So to begin with, my name is Colin Steele, and I'm going to be your professor in this semester. So I started my college education, I think when I was about 22. I come from a non-traditional educational background, so that means, I didn't go to a traditional high school, and consequently, that was difficult for me, so I ended up dropping out of high school. And so when I turned 18, tried getting a job, um, I had to have some sort of diploma, and so that motivated me to get the GED, which is like the high school graduation equivalent exam. And then I just started working in construction, doing jobs with general contractors, a lot of manual labor. And I did that for a few years and realized that I wanted something more out of life, and I wanted a meaningful and fulfilling, but also challenging career. And so that really motivated me to step foot into a college classroom. Now, mind you, because of my non-traditional educational background in high school, and just kind of, some of the self-concept that I had going into that, I carried a lot of self-doubt and insecurities. I didn't feel like I belonged within higher education because I didn't feel like I was smart enough and didn't have the skills necessary to be successful. And carrying that into my first few years of college really impacted my education. I had a low GPA. I was failing a lot of classes. In fact, I struggled a lot with my science classes, specifically mathematics. And it wasn't until I reached out to Disabled Student Services, the DSP department, because I was going to quit college. And that's when I discovered that I struggle with dyslexia. And that posed some challenges to my learning. And so when I figured that out and learned more about dyslexia, I was able to tailor how I approach my academics. But really, despite those limitations with my learning abilities, I think a fundamental shift that made me more successful in my academics was a cognitive change, was a shift in mindset. And this mindset is that anything that we apply ourselves to accomplish, we can do that. And so I'll discuss the three keys to success a little bit later, and how we can start changing our mindset so that we can be more successful in this environment and also the environment in the work environment as well, or within our professional lives. So understanding a little bit about my challenges and kind of my mindset going into college, it took me about 4 years to get through the community college system. And I started at Riverside City College. But after working really hard and completing all my general transfer requirements, I found myself at California State University, San Bernardino, which was a realization for me that anything is obtainable with enough exposure and hard work. And so when I went to Cal State San Bernardino to finish up my undergraduate studies in human communication, I wanted to complete it under 2 years. And so my upper division coursework, I finished in 2 years. And in fact, my college graduation was the first time that I actually graduated from a program and walked across the stage and received a diploma. So that was a very meaningful part of my life to be able to do that. And that really motivated me to continue on higher education. So the following academic year, I found myself starting the graduate program at California State University, Fullerton in their human communications program. And once again, in 2 years, completed my master's degree, walked across that stage and received that diploma. And so this is so higher education has a special place in my heart because it has given me so much. It has truly transformed how I view myself, how I approach work. And it's also taught me a lot about self-discipline and perseverance and really striving to achieve whatever we set out to achieve. So after finishing up my master's degree, I started teaching at the community college level. So I took 2 years off from school to gain teaching experience because this is ultimately what I want to be doing. I want to be teaching at the community college level. The reason why is because one of my mentors, someone who really inspired me, was my interpersonal communication teacher or instructor. So it was the very first communication class that I took, which was interpersonal communication. And I learned really two things from that class. The first one was that the first thing that I learned was that I need to believe in myself. And so the instructor told me who became my mentor as well. She said, Colin, you have something very unique to offer this learning environment, and that's your unique lived experiences. Understanding that everybody is completely unique, you're bringing that uniqueness into the classroom. And I extended that in my own approach and say, every single person that we meet, we can learn something from. Some of the most profound lessons I've learned in life was because of listening to someone else share their experiences. Primarily, that's the way we connect as humans. And so we can learn from each other. And the fact that you have a unique experience that you're bringing into this environment, I can learn from that. And so understanding that really transformed how I approached education and, again, my own performance within the classroom. The second thing that I learned was just how extensive and fascinating the field of communication is. The communication ranges from anything to that internal dialogue we engage in to, global communication, how we communicate through the media and what type of perceptions are sent to other, cultural groups or countries. So it's a very wide, versatile, but applicable discipline to study. And so I really was motivated to pursue my formal education in communication studies and to share my knowledge and to provide an environment where students felt comfortable sharing their life experiences because they're contributing to the broader conversation. So I started teaching again after my graduate program to gain experience. So I started teaching. I taught for about 2-3 years, and then, in the back of my head, I kept hearing this voice like, Colin, you need to continue your education. And so in 2018, I started my PhD, working on my PhD through Regent University. So currently I'm in my third year. I'm stressed out because I have 2 semesters to finish up my coursework, And then I'm going to move into this thing called comprehensive exams, where they essentially, it's a written exam, no notes, no nothing, but they test you on those 3 years worth of coursework, anything from books to research to theories. Like, I have to know it all. So I am kind of freaking out right now because this is like the going to be the hardest thing that I think I've ever accomplished in education. And then after that, it's, writing a dissertation, which is like a book. And then, so hopefully, my projection graduation date for my PhD is going to be 2023, if everything goes as well. Okay, so enough about me. That's a little bit of my educational experience, my educational background. Let's get into these 3 keys of success. So based on all my experiences and kind of what I've learned along the way, through my personal life, professional life, and academic life, I've come to realize that the foundation to success is to identify purpose for our lives, but also identify purpose for the things that we're doing. So I want to ask you this really deep question. Why are you taking this class? Now, for some of us, it might be, well, it's a requirement for me to continue on. Well, why are you continuing on your education journey, right? Well, the answer might be because I want this particular career, or I want to work in this particular sector, right? So you've identified that purpose, that long-term goal that you're striving to work for. Now, when we have identified that, that gives us purpose within this context. So understanding that this class is probably just a general requirement, it might not even be your major, you might not even have a special interest regarding this topic. But if you know that your future success is contingent on your success in this class, then that is going to motivate you. So find and have purpose in everything that you do. Purpose gives us goal-specific progress. So if we don't have purpose, it's hard to track progress. And this is even for our personal lives. If we don't know where our life trajectory lies, it's hard to figure out whether or not we're growing and developing, becoming a better person with each day, or if we're regressing. So it's always good to have that goal or that purpose, even within our personal lives, even in our relationships as well. So it allows us to track progress. And having purpose should be meaningful to the self. It's completely voluntary and self-motivated. So what do we mean by voluntary? Well, essentially, I can't give you purpose. No one can give you purpose. You have to give that purpose for yourself, right? You have to identify purpose for your own life, for your own academic journey. Now, I can tell you, like, hey, this class is important. You need to get an A, right? But, that has to come from within in order for it to fully materialize in your life. And when you do that, then nothing's going to stop you from pursuing that. You'll be self-motivated in approaching your academics. In addition, I think living a purposeful life is meaningful to other people as well. It benefits them and helps them and inspires them to become better people as well. And so, I have friends who have sacrificed their own personal happiness for an income or, an excellent salary or financial stability. And as a result, they just, that spark in their eyes is just gone. Like they aren't passionate about life. They aren't passionate about what they do, even though that their financial stability, financially stable, they aren't happy, right? And so you want to make sure that, living a purposeful life is going to make you happy and make you satisfied, because at the end of the day, I think that's what success looks like. It's not, how much money we make. It's not the square footage of our house. It's not how much power or influence we have. And when we are at our happiest, we are going to influence others to be happy and strive for greatness. So answer that why question. Why are you going to school? Why are you taking this class? Why are you pursuing this major? Why are you wanting to work in this particular field? Why are you engaged in this relationship? Um, and by asking those deep why questions and generating and reflecting on the answers will help give us clarity. So the reason why having purpose is really important is because research has shown that purpose helps us overcome challenges. I think the main reason why I struggled so much in my uh, early beginning of my college education is because I didn't have a strong sense of purpose. I didn't know why I was in school, other than I wanted more opportunity for myself. And it wasn't until I figured out I want to teach college and I want to study communication studies. Um, that's when things became a lot easier for me. Not in the sense of, learning or, the work became easier, but the stress and anxiety went away because I knew why I was putting myself in these situations. Even though that I'm stressed out and anxious, working on my PhD, like I have a deeper rooted purpose for why I'm doing this is because I want to influence other students. I want to influence other people. And so I know for certain why I am doing what I'm doing. And there's a sense of fulfillment in that. So the research shows that in purpose, having a strong sense of purpose also increases life satisfaction and increases positive coping behavior for stress. So if you are still reflecting on your purpose as a student, as a person, I invite you to reflect on this model. And this model consists of 4 elements. And these elements are what do you love doing, what you're good at, what you can get paid for, and what the world needs. And so when we combine all of these elements and we're accomplishing these things, we get this Venn diagram, and in the middle, the overlap is that purpose. So right here. Okay, so find and have purpose. The second key is to develop grit, right? And so it's great to have a sense of purpose, but the next step is to work really hard in accomplishing or living out that purpose. And this is where grit comes into play. So grit is a positive non-cognitive trait that is based on an individual's passion for a particular long-term goal or end state, coupled with powerful motivation to achieve that goal. And so I think the key words in this definition, passion and motivation. So what are you passionate for? Start working towards that. See how you can align your passion with career opportunities, right? For financial opportunities, but also opportunities to help the broader community at large. And that motivation, that powerful motivation. So this is grit. So coupling that passion and that motivation together. And the reason why grit is so important is because Angela Lee Duckworth, she's the primary scholar and researcher of this concept grit. Her research shows that grit predicted higher achievement levels in challenging domains over measures of talent. So that means people who were, again, very passionate and motivated were more successful in challenging domains than people who had a natural talent for whatever they were doing. And so her research to test this grit, she went to a lot of different sectors in society. Most notable, she went to West Point, where she studied cadets getting ready to embark on West Point boot camp. And she wanted to figure out who in West Point is going to complete their military training. And she found that it wasn't the fastest runner, it wasn't the star athlete, it wasn't the person with the top GPA. It was the people who had that passion and dedication and that motivation to achieve what they set out to achieve. That was the best predictor to success. she's even studied, elementary school kids, in a spelling bee to figure out who of these students were going to stick around. She even measured students in really tough neighborhoods or school districts um, and she matched them against things like how safe do you feel in school, and rookie teachers, all of these people. And she found consistently that grit was the best predictor to success. So coming into this class, you might not have the best GPA. You might be doubting yourself like I doubted myself. You might have a negative self-concept. You might have those insecurities like I did. But if you are passionate in achieving your higher education, achieving your degree, then nothing will stop you, right? So we need to start developing that characteristic of grit. So how do we do that? There is really no simple way of developing grit, but the one suggestion Angela Lee Ducksworth suggests is to live every day, live our everyday routine with our future goals in mind. So, what does that look like in my life? Well, when I'm tempted to binge watch Netflix or read that chapter or, write that paper I'm supposed to, it's picking our future over momentary gratification. I think that's the best way that we develop grit. So the next time that you want to procrastinate or put off your homework because, maybe you want to Netflix, right? It's choosing our future. What's going to pay off in the long term, right? If we watch Netflix, right, that might give us momentary satisfaction and instant gratification, but that wears off very quickly. Whereas, you know, approaching our work, doing our work diligently on time, we are taking proactive steps to make our future a reality. And so I think it's simple as that, is just choosing our future in every waking moment, figuring out, what's going to benefit me long term. Now, granted, sometimes we need to rest and take a step back, and that's when, binge watching a few episodes of Netflix is okay. But we need to constantly be pursuing our future, living out that purpose. So this is the TED Talk from Angela Lee Ducksworth, The Key to Success is Grit. I'm going to link this below this video so you can watch it on your own time. The last key is super cliche. It's to dream big. And I know it's like, okay, it's super basic, right? But I think in today, a lot of people are sacrificing their dreams for stability. We live in a constantly changing world where sometimes it's hard to have certainty of how the environment is going to evolve. And as a result, there's a lot of uncertainty in life. Things change fairly quickly. Like, think of this, like at the beginning of this year, right? COVID-19 happened. Now we're all trying to scramble and work from home and, quarantine life and all this. Like, things change overnight. And for a lot of us, that gives us anxiety because the uncertainty surrounding that. And oftentimes our response is to sacrifice our dreams in order for some sort of stability. Now, I'm not saying that that's entirely bad. We have responsibilities that we need to take care of. But at the same time, we're in a position right now where we still have maybe our future career ahead of us, or we still have a future ahead of us. And so we want to think about, how can I live out my dreams? How can I work towards a major, or, get into a career that allows me to fulfill my dreams? And to be able to do that requires a lot of self-discipline. So that's why I like this first quote: to dream big is a matter of choice, right? So are we allowing ourselves to dream big, or are we putting limitations on our potential? Now, it requires another component, and that is that self-discipline. So dreaming big is a matter of choice, but to reach that dream is a matter of discipline. Are we being self-disciplined in pursuing that dream, in aligning our routine so that we're working towards that goal? Or are we allowing distractions to counterbalance the progress that we're making? So these are some things that we need to consider as we move through this semester, as we complete our coursework, and ultimately as we start working on finishing our college education. So don't allow society or fear of the uncertain distract you from really living out your dreams. And I have another video that essentially captures everything of this presentation. And this is a video from Prince E. Everybody dies, but not everybody lives. Once again, I will link that below this video so that you can watch this. I highly encourage you to take a look at this. So typically in the in-class situation, I ask students to get into groups and share these discussion questions. Understanding most of us are doing remote learning right now, these are going to be some discussion questions that I invite you to reflect on as we start this new semester. And so the first one are, what are some of your short-term and long-term goals? The second is, how do you plan to achieve those goals? Third, what are some of the struggles that you might encounter in achieving your goals? So I think this is important is because a lot of us have goals, we create a plan and check marks, but we sometimes overlook the setbacks that we will encounter. And when those setbacks happen, it completely derails us and we get discouraged and maybe even quit our goals. So it's really important to take into consideration some of the setbacks or the struggles that we'll encounter in achieving our goals so that we can prepare in advance how we're going to respond to them, because they will happen. Fourth is, what do you feel your strengths are? So what are your strengths? Start working towards enhancing your strengths. Now, some scholars argue that, we need to identify our weaknesses and really focus on strengthening those weaknesses. Well, some scholars counteract that and say to be able to work on our weaknesses, to bring them up to competency, to an effective competency, would take more time and effort than if we just simply worked on our strengths and reached an excellent level. So oftentimes when we have deficiencies, really working on them to bring them up will only get us to a mediocre level. Whereas if we focus on our strengths, that might take us over that tipping point and put us in a completely different category. So I want you to identify your strengths and really start to develop those. However, I do want you to take note of those weaknesses and see if you can start working on them as well. But lastly, I want you to really focus on the broader context, your life, who you are as a person, what you're doing, the relationships that you have. What is your gift to the world? What are you giving to other people? What are you giving to your community? What are you giving to your family? What are you giving to this class environment this semester, right? So really think about that last one, is what is your gift to the world? Is because you do have a gift. So thank you so much for listening, and we will see you later.